accused Trump of this very thing. It's the usual projection that they engage in. They said that he demanded complete loyalty. Talk about the pot calling the kettle black. The ugly truth is, the price one has to pay to be in their club, the media or in national politics on the left, is total and complete loyalty.
Okay, so the idea there is that when Donald Trump goes to people like Comey and literally asks for a loyalty pledge, that's not requiring a loyalty pledge. No, the left, which I guess includes Biden and CNN and MSNBC, they require loyalty pledges because they fired Ronna McDaniel for being part of an illegal attempt to overturn the results of an election. And that's about loyalty somehow. It's not about, having some base level of ethics or our audience having any reason to believe they can trust anything you would say as a contributor. No, it's about absolute loyalty. That is a clownish, clumsy attempt to defend Donald Trump. But I'm less worried about what she's saying there than what she's not saying, because I want to remind all of you, when we're talking about loyalty and the lengths that the right is expected to go to demonstrate their never-ending loyalty for Donald Trump, that is Laura Ingraham, who is a host on Fox News. Fox News lost the better part of $1 billion. Was it $800 million? I think it was 750, $800 million. Yeah, nearly $1 billion. Because in the wake of the 2020 election, their hosts knew that the election had not been stolen. Their hosts believed that Donald Trump's attempts to overturn the results of the election were that of a destroyer of democracy. But they knew that if they admitted that, then they would lose the favor of Donald Trump and thus the favor of the MAGA movement. And so, made very clear in their private text messages, they made the conscious decision that they were going to lie to their audience to maintain that audience. They publicly demonstrated loyalty to Donald Trump so that they could maintain their power, their influence, their access, and the high salaries that they command. That's what they did. She understands loyalty because she is part of an organization that made that devil's bargain and continues to make that devil's bargain. An organization that, in the wake of that insurrection, dabbled in supporting other candidates, started to talk a little bit about Ron DeSantis. And then once it became clear that Donald Trump was still gonna be the GOP daddy, ran running back to him.
Before we continue with the story, we depend on members to keep on going. Don't wait, click join now on YouTube.
Okay, so she understands exactly how much loyalty is demanded and how vicious the MAGA movement can be if it's not provided. So I want to, before we get into our discussion, I want to give you just a little bit of the man himself talking about loyalty. Here is Donald Trump.
We have unbelievable people that are going to go in and people that are loyal to our country. I don't want them to be loyal to me. I want them to be loyal to our country.
I don't know about Mike Pence. He should endorse me. He should endorse me. You know why? I chose him, made him vice president. But people in politics can be very disloyal. They said, sir, please don't hit him so hard. Why? He's a Republican. Who the hell cares? You care? Who cares if he's a Republican? Why, he's a Republican, sir. Please don't hit him so hard. He's a Republican. I don't care if he's a Republican. He's a disloyal guy.
One day she decided to run. So, I thought that was somewhat disloyal. Not nearly as disloyal as Ron DeSanctimonious, who I got elected.
I'm so loyal to people that when somebody's slightly disloyal to me, I look upon it as a great act of horror. Some of the people that were least loyal to me are people that I think I would have treated them differently. I think I would have treated different groups differently. I would have wiped the floor with the guys that weren't loyal, which I will now do, which is great. I love getting even with people.
Yeah, that's who he is. Laura Ingraham knows that. I don't know if Laura Ingraham likes him. We know that Tucker Carlson pretended to and didn't. But what you just saw right there is what the MAGA movement likes him. They like that he's vicious. They like the idea of being the person who can demand loyalty but never actually provide it to anyone else. That's the power fantasy they live in, bowing down to a guy like Donald Trump. And she fully understands that. Brett, what do you think?
What dissent is allowed on the right at all? What big disagreements do people on the free speech right have with each other? The answer is none that are allowed publicly. None of them. And if there is any dissent, Trump pushes them out. That is what is demonstrably true. And not only that, he never even allows just people to be decent, to follow the basic rules of propriety. And that was the same on day 100 of his cabinet as it was on the last day of his last possibility for him to be president, January 6th, essentially. He thought he could put people in place like Jeff Sessions. Jeff Sessions merely recused himself from a case he should have recused himself of. And Trump is like, that guy's evil. How dare he be anywhere near me? Get out. Anybody who speaks against him, get out. And then on the last day, with he replaced his running mate. At this point, he's not going to have Mike Pence in his cabinet. He encouraged Mike Pence to abandon the core framework of American democracy. And what a lot of us see as, if you have your your cabinet full of adversaries, like that's a good thing. A lot of us think. Trump thinks that was a mistake anytime he ever did it. And it's a mistake he does not intend to duplicate. When we think like, I'm glad that America's framework for democracy held firm under the stress of January 6th. Like Donald Trump's like, well, never again to that. That's his path going forward.
Yeah, 100%. And look, again, she'll pretend to not see how one-sided the flow of loyalty is, but she knows. They all know. They all know. I mean, ask Melania about Donald Trump and loyalty. Like honestly, like he's able to do it because he has money and because he has this following. If he was not as popular, if he was about as popular as Ron DeSantis or about as popular as Nikki Haley going up against all of them, this is the sort of thing that would be used to attack him. It would make him even more unappealing, but he was able to break through for reasons that I think are fairly clear. And so this is what you get.
And like the general dynamic I want to point out as well is that like Donald Trump, one of the things he figured out early about politics was like he sees stuff that normal politicians do and he stays away from it. Like normal politicians used to do something, get caught doing something that's horrible, and then they would have like the dumbest but actually perfectly worded apology for it. Trump was the first person to be like, no, that's not happening. In politics, it is generally like a good idea after you win the presidential election to govern on behalf of all Americans and include people from different factions within your party and different parts of, govern on embrace some things that the other party might be into in the spirit of unity. Trump's not going to do that next time. Like he has learned his lesson from losing the last election. He's not going to duplicate that thing he considers a mistake again. I just want to make that pretty clear.
Okay, I would love to see a capacity for learning from mistakes. We'll see. We'll see.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.